Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, an apple a day keeps the Dr. Mario away, but how does Dr. Lakitu fare against apples? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
You know, it's going pretty good, Patrick. I have to tell you. So,
Yes.
you know, at the beginning of this, pandemic, when we first started staying home, I talked a lot about the Shows Must Go On, that YouTube channel that, every Friday they were posting new Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals.
Yes.
And then eventually Andrew Lloyd Webber showed people the filmed version of the stage show Cats, and he was like, all right, I'm done. No more for me. They kept doing other ones, but they weren't Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. They were the NBC live TV productions that they would do. But I saw today that on Friday they are doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which was the first one that they did, which feels like a very ominous repeating of the cycle.
Ooh. So we're back up to the top of the order, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Are we just
no.
that just feels like it has bad implications all around.
Okay, well, Mark, let me ask you this. What was the first topic episode that we recorded in quarantine, and do we need to do it again?
Was it I can't remember. Was it the start of Retro Month? No, we must have had one before that.
So I think it would be the one that we recorded on the 16th. 3/16, because I think I know Sarah's last day in the office was 3/13, so I think that weekend was when I brought recording equipment down to your house and was like, here you go, I'm never gonna see you again. And it looks like our topic for that episode for that week was we're answering questions about where to start with Nintendo and discussing an indie showcase. So we sort of split the ticket on that one. I don't know if there's any way for us to pull an Andrew Lloyd Webber and go back to the top of the order. But that's okay. Look, we have an amazing show for you today. We are going to, do you know the doctors in Dr. Mario and in Dr. Mario World? Well, we are going to rank them definitively. This is going to be a good list. Mark, do you know off the top of your head how many doctors are presently in Dr. Mario World?
I think 36.
36 is correct. And it's going to be such a good list. I'm very excited about it. Before we get into it, I do want to mention, of course, my copy of Sonic Forces. Would you like to borrow it? You can be part of the program. All you got to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address where I can send you my copy of this game on Switch. You play it for as long as you want. You send it back. It's great. Also, we got a message on Facebook, which, look, I know on Tuesday I was bad-mouthing Facebook and all of social media. I still think they're bad. However, we did get this message from Jason, listener Jason, who had previously suggested that we talk about the Switch reveal presentation on our previous topic episode. Jason wrote, thank you so much for doing my show, in quotes. I was honestly worried for a second on Tuesday when I heard you were going to officially use my idea, because I looked back and saw that the reveal wasn't an E3. So, Jason, you're right. Technically, it fell outside of our parameters. But look, if there's a rule we don't like breaking, I haven't seen it.
Well, actually, it's fine that it fell outside the parameters, too, because it fell outside of June. And June was when we were looking back at E3.
That's right. And yes, exactly. And also it should be, we just need to remember that all of June we were also recording in Los Angeles, just as E3 always is.
That's right. It was our hat tip. It was a true hat tip to E3.
Jason goes on to say, your collective enthusiasm was so organic, and it was such a better way to end the E3 series instead of that vicarious depression that he felt last Thursday. The Switch reveal had everything I had hoped it would be, including teases for games released years later and a game we still haven't seen. I too am tempted to replay Odyssey and Breath of the Wild because of that trailer. Like Mark, I'm not sure that Breath of the Wild is the best game ever, but it is definitely the best gameplay and experience I've ever had. And thank you, Patrick, for sharing your heartfelt anecdotes at the end. Thanks again for the show. I've listened to all your episodes, and this definitely definitively ranks as one of the best. Thank you, Jason, for using our own terminology when discussing the quality of our episodes. Means a lot to hear from people. And look, we stopped putting out a call for, hey, if anyone has topic episode suggestions, shoot them over to us. But we are always looking for ideas on what to talk about for an hour every week. Look, we're not out of ideas. Mark, are we out of ideas?
No, we're lousy with ideas, but are we lousy with good ideas?
Also, yes, but we could use your suggestions. All right, Mark, let us screw around no further. We've got 36 Dr. Mario Doctors to rank. Let's get into it. So I think a few parameters first, right? First, it should be noted, we will be judging every single one of these doctors on purely aesthetic levels. Mark, I probably played Dr. Mario for like 45 minutes.
I think that bested me. I did not enjoy the 20 minutes I spent with this game. Should we talk about what Dr. Mario World is? Because I think it is totally possible that somebody would have no idea.
Yeah, that's great. Why don't you give us the pitch for it?
Sure, yeah. Dr. Mario World is, man, I guess it actually probably came out like a year ago at this point, but it's a mobile game that Nintendo released where it's like Dr. Mario, kind of. There are pills, there are viruses, but the gameplay is not really like traditional Dr. Mario. But you can choose and I guess unlock different doctors to play as in the game, and they all have different abilities. And they can level up and stuff like that. So you're not just limited to Dr. Mario or Dr. Luigi. There is I'm not going to say there's a wide array. It's a deep bench, kind of.
Yes.
But I think it brings up a question, which is from the top, how are we going to judge these characters? We know that it's going to be superficial, but obviously the Mushroom Kingdom's healthcare system is in dire straits. And so are we judging competency or perceived competency, or does that factor into it at all?
Yeah. So first, before we get into what those criteria are, I do want to point out that you are right. Dr. Mario World came out on July 10th, 2019. So we are basically celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Dr. Mario World. Didn't even realize we were doing that.
Changing the title of this episode.
But so, or at least the description.
Yeah.
But I think you raise a good question. I feel like we are forced to look at each doctor holistically, which means we need to consider how good of a doctor they would be. We need to consider how funny it is that they would be a doctor, and how much we just like the way that doctor looks. I feel like those are the three biggest criteria. Well, and just our affinity for that doctor.
And I mean, truthfully, is that basically how we would evaluate doctors in real life too?
Ooh, boy, that's tough. What was my first criteria?
I can't remember.
How good of a doctor? Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I feel like I'm going to end up putting a lot of weight on how funny it is that this character is a doctor.
Yeah, I think that is fair, especially when we get into into this list where some of them you're just kind of I have no enthusiasm for.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it's also tough because there are some of the Koopa kids are in here, and we've already definitively ranked the Koopa kids. And I believe that was one of the lists that we held as definitive.
Right, but does them being doctors change that? And I think it
Right.
might, right? Because what makes like a Koopa kid funny is potentially less funny when they hold a medical degree.
Right. For example, Roy is far and away our favorite Koopa kid. But Dr. Roy,
I mean, also like this kind of changes like the balance of power a little bit because neither you or I are doctors. So do we have to respect these characters that like normally I would have little respect for? Do I have to take into account
interesting.
that they have like, gone through medical school? And I guess I'm not saying like all I don't know. It's just something to consider. It's not like all doctors are great.
No, but I mean, I think you go into a room, you go into an examination room, someone walks in wearing a lab coat and like has a stethoscope around their neck, and they're like, "Hi, I'm doctor," and then they say their last name. Like, you do respect that person, right?
Hopefully.
I mean, if you
But
don't,
I
you
guess
should
that
leave.
yeah, that's true. But I suppose that could definitely like fall into our rankings, right?
Yes, yeah. At the very least, it would be irresponsible of us to ignore it completely. Okay, so we have a list of 36 doctors. I think probably the smart money is to simply go through the list from soup to nuts. Mark, let's go back and forth alternating. I will start. Of course, the original is Dr. Mario,
Followed by Dr. Bowser,
followed by Dr. Peach
and then Dr. Luigi,
and Dr. Yoshi,
and Dr. Toad,
Dr. Toadette,
Dr. Bowser Jr.,
Dr. Ludwig,
Dr. Wendy,
Dr. Waluigi,
Dr. Wario,
Dr. Daisy,
Dr. Baby Mario,
Dr. Baby Luigi,
Dr. Baby Peach,
Dr. Baby Daisy,
Dr. Rosalina,
Dr. Luma,
Dr. Donkey Kong,
Dr. Diddy Kong,
Dr. Baby Rosalina,
Dr. Kamek,
Dr. Dry Bowser,
Dr. Fire Mario,
Dr. Fire Peach,
Dr. Roy,
Dr. Larry,
Dr. Fire Luigi,
Dr. Fire Rosalina,
Dr. Nabbit,
Dr. Lakitu,
Dr. Goomba Tower,
Dr. Koopa Troopa,
Dr. Dolphin.
and Dr. Baby Wario.
Wow. Okay, so this is it's an intimidating list, and a lot of good doctors on here. A lot of hilarious doctors on here. I'm going to throw out a category of doctor already that I want at the bottom of our list, and maybe there might be like another kind that like gets down towards the bottom. Any of the fire variants, a fire Mario, a fire Luigi, a fire Peach, and fire Rosalina. I believe those are the four fire types. I don't think doctors should be using fire. Just like I don't think doctors should be using leeches. These need to be 21st century doctors that aren't relying on, old wives' tales. And I want them to use medicine.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great point. So yeah, the fire doctors down at the bottom, towards the bottom at least, for sure. Can I throw out another category that I think falls towards the bottom? Well, and
Sure.
this one is actually maybe debatable because the other thing I don't really love about the fire variants is that they don't bring anything interesting like aesthetically. Like
Yes.
they are wearing, because they have like the fire flower power up, their hats are white and like more of their clothing is white, but I associate like white lab coats with doctors anyways, so it's not like
Yes.
a interesting aesthetic change. But the baby doctors, on the one hand, I would not trust, but on the other hand, or like I would just feel weird seeing a doctor that was like significantly more babyish than I am.
Yes. Just like it could be sort of babyish, just not more babyish than you.
Yeah. But on the other hand, do they get points for like the ridiculousness factor?
Yeah, so I do think they get some redemption for being ridiculous. And I think that some of them are more ridiculous than others, and I'm not going to be able to explain why. I think the doctor babies that are the least exciting to me are as follows. And we're not committing any of this to paper just yet. But the ones that are least exciting to me are Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Baby Pete, and Baby Peach. Those three babies I feel like are boring babies, and I don't want a boring baby to be a doctor. Slightly more exciting doctor babies, Doctor Baby Daisy. Partially that's just because of the like alliteration, the double the DBD. I like that. Dr. Baby Rosalina, just because the idea of Rosalina as a baby is very funny to me. And then, of course, Dr. Baby Wario, who may be like an S tier funny pick. Baby Wario being a doctor is so funny to me. and it's a character who's been missing, not as a doctor, but as just Baby Wario has been missing from the Mushroom Kingdom for so long, and it's just exciting to see him back here. But I don't know. Do you think there's like a different strata of babies, or am I way off base there?
No, I think you're right. I think that Dr. Mario and Dr. Luigi, Dr. Baby Mario and Dr. Baby Luigi, I think will maybe suffer from the same fate that Mario and Luigi do, which is just that like it's almost like too much of a given. Like it's just like a little boring. I'm not that excited by Dr. Baby Rosalina just because like especially in the image we have here, it seems basically like Baby Dr. Peach or Dr. Baby Peach, a really important distinction. But just like palette swapped a little bit.
Yeah, no, I get that. How do you feel about Dr. Baby Daisy?
I like Dr. Baby Daisy. There's something, and I can't explain it, but I like that Daisy is just like a little less well known, like a little less used in this types of stuff, and so like that is a little bit more interesting to me than some of the other ones. Dr. Baby Wario, I am very excited about, even though of like a month ago I did not believe that it existed, and I still think it is like a cursed image. I like
Totally
that I like the idea that Wario almost like Benjamin Buttoned, but not just in age, but in like careers as well, where like he started as a baby as a doctor, and then
that's not how Benjamin Button works though.
Well, does it? He
would end as a baby and a doctor.
Yeah, so he like reversed Benjamin Buttoned.
Wow, I think that's just aging. Okay, so I think what I would like to do is I want to start creating like classes, right? Like it ranges that we know are going to be like on the lower end, and I think we can assign them like an alphabetical, probably like A through F, and also let's use E just because I think we're gonna need it. And also F is easy because we can just apply that to the fire ones. So Dr. Fire Mario is going to get an F ranking. Dr. Fire Peach is going to get an F ranking. Dr. Fire Luigi gets an F ranking, and Dr. Fire Rosalina all get F rankings. And maybe even, it should be noted, a double F ranking, because why is there no Dr. Fire Toad? What's going on?
Someday there might be. I mean, that's the other important thing to this list, is that they are continually adding new doctors. So just because a doctor does not appear right now does not mean like in a week or a couple of days once this episode is released that they will not add a new doctor, in which case our definitive list, I think in this case, may be short-lived, because that, or we will have to continually supplement this as additional doctors are released.
So I was going to save this to the end of the episode, but I believe that we should update this list in real time when we find out about new doctors.
Yeah, I think totally. This is a living ranking. I'm 100% into that. So can I posit to you that we should go through every doctor right now, and maybe we're in agreement already, and just like give them a letter grade, and just based on gut, and see what those rankings are,
Sure.
and then we'll like see how things shake out.
Sure, I agree with that. Would you like to start at the top of the list with the most vanilla choice possible, Dr. Mario?
So for me, I think it's a C tier character.
So it's either a high C or a low B for me as well. It is hard to deny the power of Dr. Mario just in general. I love Dr. Mario as a game. I love his presence in Smash Brothers. He's been around the longest. The whole game is named after him. I feel like, look, he's going to lose points for being such a vanilla pick, but he's also, like, you can't deny the foundational aspect of Dr. Mario.
Okay, let's go B.
Okay. Dr. Bowser.
I find Dr. Bowser more interesting than some of the other ones on this list, so I think also a B for me.
I think a B makes sense. The thing that kind of like keeps him out of being like very interesting is that he seems like would be a profoundly bad doctor, right? His hands are too big. He is a malicious monster. I don't like him. Dr. Peach.
So I really like her outfit.
Me too. I like her outfit a lot. She's wearing like a pink lab coat. She takes the idea of the lab coat and is like, no, I do. All the rest of you can wear white lab coats. I'm going to do this my way. I think Dr. Peach goes in the A category.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Dr. Luigi.
Huh. So I think Luigi's a B for me as well, and then we'll figure out like where within that B he stands.
Yeah, probably a low B for me. Again, I know that Dr. Luigi has more of a like history than every other doctor outside of Dr. Mario, but it's not really enough history to like catapult him into the high B category. Dr. Yoshi.
So Dr. Yoshi starts an interesting category of doctors who, in their official image, carries like a little satchel, like, and otherwise is not dressed like a doctor, like doesn't have a lab coat. Now, does this mean that he is working in like outside of the office environment? Like he's like Doctors Without Borders, like
He's
going
like
to
a field
places.
doctor.
Yes. And so like, is Dr. Yoshi putting more on the line than some of these other doctors?
Now that is interesting. I guess I had not considered what the cost to the individual doctor. Is it harder for a Yoshi to become a doctor? He doesn't even speak language. He just says Yoshi.
That's a good point. So like, did he have to struggle, like, or not struggle, but did he just have to work harder to get, or did he
Right.
get his doctorate from like Yoshi's Island? But
Great
he's
point.
like,
Yeah.
he's like able to practice in the Mushroom Kingdom. So I think Dr. like Yoshi, I have so many questions, and so that makes him
me
an
too.
A character for me.
An A class character.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. I don't know. I struggle with the whole idea of Dr. Yoshi, but let's put him in the A category. That's fine. Dr. Toad.
I don't have a lot of respect for Dr. Toad, but that's a Toad problem in general, and so maybe that's my problem.
I don't know. Here's the thing. If you were, let's take doctoring out of it. Let's say that you committed a crime and you have a publicly appointed defense attorney there to defend you, and they walk in on the first day and it's Toad.
Death sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. I feel like Dr. Toad has got to be a D tier doctor.
Yeah. Yep.
Dr. Toadette.
I just like Toadette more than I like generic Toad, so C tier for me.
Me too.
I actually think, like, again, like if Toadette was my public defender, like it wouldn't feel as dire as if Toad was.
Well, and because Toadette has a personality, so we know her to be like a little bit like that. She can get stuff done. That she is assertive. In most recently in Super Mario Maker 2, she is like the construction foreman. So like she can organize. She can get stuff done. Still a C-level doctor. She's still a Toad. Okay. Dr. Bowser Jr.
So I love his outfit. I love that he's wearing
He's got
a
a nice tie. Yeah.
He looks like a real doctor, but still, I don't like Bowser Jr. D class character for me.
I will agree with D class. Possibly a high D, but a D nonetheless. Dr. Ludwig, the Koopa Kid.
I mean, hard to trust a Koopa Kid with as a medical professional, and Ludwig.
Here's the thing I will say in Ludwig's defense, is that he is a musician. He studied. He went to school, right? Like, we know that he is capable of, like, buckling down and really learning how to do something, mastering a craft. Now, is medicine a craft? Is it, are those one-for-one transferable skills? No, but Doctor Strange became an expert magician applying his doctor skills. So, like, maybe it works in reverse for Dr. Ludwig.
And let's say that, like if you sometimes you want doctors to, like, be on your side, right? And to, like, fight for you. And I feel like Dr. Ludwig would go, if he was on your side, then he would go to bat for you. And that's something that you, like, wanted a doctor. So, yeah, maybe tentatively, I'm going to say a B character, but potentially A. We'll see how it shakes out.
Sure, I will put him at B/A. Dr. Wendy.
Kind of the same deal.
Wendy's tough because, I really don't know where to put her. Maybe a solid B.
Yeah. Okay.
Solid B for Dr. Wendy. Dr. Waluigi. I'm tempted to not trust this at all. I think it is very funny that Waluigi and Wario are in this game. However, these are doctors who are going to smell bad. Have you ever been in a doctor's office and the doctor comes in and smells bad? Nothing makes you feel less safe than a doctor who smells bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, F tier doctor. Funny, but not somebody you want medical advice from. Same with Dr. Wario. We know without a doubt that Dr. Wario smells bad.
Yes, 100%. Although I would like to point out that they are both wearing excellent ties. Can we bump them up to D? Well,
where did we end up? Oh yeah, they're. I feel like sartorially they are in the same class as Dr. Bowser Jr. So yes, I feel good about D.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Next, Dr. Daisy.
Dr. Daisy looks like a doctor that you would want to see walking into, like, the patient room.
And look, this is the doctor that you want to give you bad news. She is going to find a way to make it cheery, to make it palatable. Dr. Daisy is an A-tier doctor.
She's an A-tier doctor, and you know that she's, like, the kind of, like, doctor that you would go see, and she's going to be super upbeat. She's going to ask you how you're doing, and she is going to advocate for you to run marathons if you are able to. And she's all about fitness. She's all about eating well. Like, that is her thing.
I think we are in total agreement. Dr. Daisy is an A-tier doctor. Dr. Baby Mario.
So I do laugh a little bit when I imagine him walking into a room in an oversized lab coat or even a well-fitting lab coat.
I want to talk for a second about the Mario and Luigi and their variants and their insistence on wearing hats when they are the variants, because the vanilla Dr. This is so hard to say. Vanilla Dr. Mario and Vanilla Dr. Luigi do not wear hats. They have those headbands with like the old timey reflector on the top of it. But if you make them fire, then they get the hat, and if you make them baby, then they get the hat.
I think it's because the baby variants do not have mustaches, and so they are otherwise unrecognizable as Mario and Luigi if they did not have a hat.
Great. Also undistinguishable from each other without the
Yeah,
hats.
100%. That's such a good point.
Okay, so Dr. Baby Mario, maybe C or D tier. It is funny to see him walk into a room dragging a clipboard behind him like it's a blanket.
And clearly they are, right, yeah, exactly. And clearly they are savants of some kind.
Yes.
But
also they are babies. Let us
Right.
not be fooled.
I'm advocating for D tier.
Okay, for both
Yeah.
Baby Dr. Mario, Baby Dr. Luigi, despite the fact that they are wearing different colored hats, they are essentially indistinguishable as far as my affections are concerned. Dr. Baby Peach,
D, like same class of character.
yeah, same boat. Dr. Baby Daisy, I feel like it's a slightly better doctor, but maybe only a C tier.
Yeah.
You think
yeah.
still D?
Mm.
Okay, C. Okay. Dr. Rosalina.
So whereas I think her and Dr. Daisy are both good doctors. I think the difference between them is that Rosalina, I think, is a little more aloof, doesn't maybe have the same bedside manner as Dr. Daisy, but as far as competency goes, is in the same class.
Yeah, I mean, she's also going to bring medical knowledge from across the galaxy, right? Like, she has experienced the kind of medical science we've never even read about. So yeah, I think very, very competent. It is possible that and look, I don't mean to demean pediatricians here, but I think she would have a specialization towards children. I think this doesn't make her a worse doctor, just a less holistic doctor. I think she's a pediatrician.
Interesting. That makes sense to me. That tracks with like her story from the Galaxy games. Speaking of Rosalina, Dr. Luma is next.
Hold on. We did not
we didn't
give
assign.
a class.
Oh, okay,
No.
yeah.
I think B probably.
Oh, you think a tier less than Dr. Daisy, who is an A tier
I do,
character.
but if you think A tier, I'm happy to go with that as well.
I would say A tier, I think.
Okay. Dr. Rosalina, A tier. Yes, sorry to cut you off as you were introducing.
Oh, Dr. Luma, who, like, I'm sorry, just, I don't even think Luma has a mouth. So.
Get a mouth, Luma. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is a D tier doctor.
Although, noted like, look, there's no reason I don't think that Luma couldn't wear a lab coat, but like Dr. Yoshi, Dr. Luma is, looks more like a field doctor, is carrying a satchel instead of like the more office-based medicine.
Yeah, I would also put forth that it's just not very funny for a Luma to be a doctor. Like, it doesn't make sense, but I'm not like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Lumas have no personality.
Wild swing from that to Dr. Donkey Kong. This is an A tier doctor as far as I'm concerned. This is the funniest possible doctor. We'll get some other very funny doctors coming up, but Dr. Donkey Kong is one of the funnier phrases you can say in life. And also, like, I mean, here's another dude who's gonna fight for you, who's gonna get stuff done. Is he a monkey? Yes, but he's a good monkey.
I think in my headcanon is that Dr. Donkey Kong is a proctologist, and he's like a really enthusiastic proctologist, and he's really good at his job.
Right. And he can do the thing where here's what Dr. Donkey Kong excels at. He excels at taking the thing that's like big and embarrassing and sort of scary and you've been dreading it forever and just like making light about it like without being crappy, like just
He's not being
connects
dismissive
to you. Yes, absolutely. I think this is an A doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Diddy Kong. I trust this one less.
I do trust this one less, and I think it's like Dr. Donkey Kong has been around. Dr. Diddy Kong is probably like, fresh out of med school. I don't think you're getting bad treatment with Dr. Diddy Kong. I just think you're getting less experience.
Yeah, you're getting like Scrubs season 9 from Dr. Diddy Kong.
So I would say B tier.
I think I would knock him down one lower to C.
Wow. Okay, I won't argue it because we went with mine for like we have a lot to do.
Dr. Baby Rosalina.
I think this is a let's see, what do we put? Yeah, I think this might be a D tier character for me.
That's fine. I would say either D or C for me. But we'll do D. Dr. Kamek.
Maybe not a great doctor. Like for sure a quack, right? For sure someone who's like has a daytime talk show and like doesn't believe in vaccines.
Totally.
So I like, on the one hand, I like the mental image of Dr. Kamek, but you cannot be swayed by it. I think Dr. Kamek is an F tier doctor.
I think that's right. I think we can put him in the same category as Dr. Phil. F for Dr. Phil. Next up, Dr. Dry Bowser.
I like Dry Bones as a character. The Dry Bowser variant does nothing for me. This is like a D class character.
Yeah, I mean, I will back that 100%. He's D class, and also like, I want a doctor whose body obeys the law, the same biological laws that ours do. He is literally just made of a shell and bones and like a ponytail, I guess. But like, he doesn't look. He's gonna see the blood in your body and be like, "Huh? He doesn't have that. He doesn't know." We get, of course, to the fire variants. Those are all F tier characters. Dr. Roy.
Dr. Roy, here's the problem. Dr. Roy is so cool. So
yeah, Dr. Roy's still very cool.
I might be going to him just because I want him to be my friend, and this is the quote closest equivalent. But I
just like you would have gone to Chicago General when Clooney was working there.
Exactly. But I might get a second opinion after his diagnosis.
I think you would be a fool not to. Do you think this is a B tier doctor?
I think he's a B tier doctor, despite the fact that he probably bullied his way through med school.
That's right. Next, Dr. Larry.
He's crazy. F. There's just no way.
F tier doctor. That's right. No crazy doctors outside of Frankenstein. Also an F. More fire tier, fire variant doctors. Dr. Nabbit. This is another one that's kind of funny.
It's funny. He's wearing a face mask, which I value these days.
He always wears that face mask. There's no filter there, and I think it's just one layer of cloth.
At least it's something.
Yes, true.
This is just based purely on gut. I'm going to say B tier.
I will agree with that. Next, Dr. Lakitu.
Yes, this doctor is for sure volunteering on the weekends. Dr. Lakitu is a saint, A tier doctor.
Yeah, I think that's right. Dr. Lakitu is also, look, he is flying around in that cloud. He is treating people in far off. He's making house calls. And he's going to wherever your house is in the Mushroom Kingdom. Do you live up some crazy beanstalk up in the clouds? Yeah, Dr. Lakitu will go there.
Have you driven your cart off the road? Dr. Lakitu is there.
Yeah, that's right. So he's also like course side during every race, so he can help treat people who've fallen off Rainbow Road. A tier doctor, wonderful doctor. Dr. Goomba Tower. Mark, why don't you talk us through what Dr. Goomba Tower is?
So in Super Mario Odyssey, you can capture Goombas using Cappy, and then you can begin to stack Goombas into a tower. And so Dr. Goomba Tower is 2 Goombas stacked on top of each other in a lab coat, the one on top wearing like a headlamp.
Is it just 2 and not 3?
Oh, I
wonder
guess
if it changes throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure.
I think it's 3 Goombas. I think canonically the platonic form of Dr. Goomba Tower is 3 Goombas stacked on top of each other, wearing 1 lab coat and 1 reflective headband thing. This is one that for me is too funny not to be an A.
Completely agree.
This is a terrible doctor.
But it's possible that I wouldn't know it, that I would be fooled by the disguise and think it's a single person.
It has no arms.
Right, and I would just be like, well, that was a strange doctor, but I enjoyed the experience.
And I feel better. So that's an A tier doctor. Dr. Koopa Troopa.
Boring.
Yeah. Boring. F class. Dr. Dolphin. Now, Dolphin, you may ask? How is a dolphin a Mario character? Well, there are those dolphin enemies from Super Mario World that like appear in maybe 2 or 3 levels max, that like jump out of the water and you can sort of ride them. They're always wearing goggles, which is very cute. Do they need the goggles to see in the air or in the water? No one will ever answer that question for you. What do you think of Dr. Dolphin?
Okay, so when Dr. Dolphin was first revealed, I think I texted you, and we had wildly different views on Dr. Dolphin. To me, Dr. Dolphin was like a jock whose like parents owned a car dealership in high school, and he probably went to ASU, but then he like started getting his stuff together, and he became a doctor, and maybe a respectable doctor, but he still has that like jock broiness to him. But that was not your read on him at all.
I forget what my read was.
And he just seems so nice.
Look, I grew up with a lot of those guys. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, but where do we, for the purposes of this exercise, how do we categorize Dr. Dolphin?
I think I give him a B. I don't know why, but I inherently trust him. He seems like trustworthy.
He does seem authoritative, doesn't he? All right, he's a B tier doctor. And then Dr. Baby Wario, I have to say A. I don't know why. I'm sorry. He's holding a giant pill magnet. I don't know what this is. But like, he's one of those doctors where you go in, something happens to you while you're there, and then you walk out cured, and you don't understand it. You can't explain it to anyone, but it happened.
He's a chiropractor.
Do we agree? A tier doctor?
A tier doctor.
All right, so now we have all of our tiers taken care of. Let's just start by discussing who is in the bottom tier. Bottom tier, tier F is Dr. Koopa Troopa, Dr. Fire Rosalina, Dr. Fire Luigi, Dr. Larry. Dr. Fire Larry would also be in this category if he existed. Dr. Fire Peach, Dr. Fire Mario, and Dr. Kamek.
So for me, Dr. Koopa Troopa is rightfully at the bottom. There's something that I find so distasteful about this one. It just feels... There's nothing fun or interesting about it. It's just a generic Koopa Troopa with a satchel.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think right above that should be Dr. Fire Mario. I think like the audacity to just be like, I don't know, it's Mario, but like the Fire Mario. I think that causes it to be the second worst. Yeah, and then maybe the Fire Luigi right above that.
Yeah. And then I think for me, probably, well, which one do you like better? Dr. Fire? Because I think then it's like Rosalina and Peach, and I could go in either order there.
I may want to put Dr. Kamek below them because he is such a huckster.
He is such a terrible. Like nobody should listen to Doc. You're right. You're right. You're right. Even though I think like the design is fun, like that is a trap. His advice, everything that comes out of Dr. Kamek's mouth is poison. So yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Not to be trusted at all.
But at least that's actually really sad. It's like not to be trusted at all. But we like him better than Dr. Fire Mario.
What can I say? Okay, and then yeah, so Fire Peach and Fire Rosalina. I guess we put Rosalina as a like just regular Rosalina as a better doctor than Peach. I feel like that probably holds true for the Fire versions as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Okay, so Dr. Fire Peach is next, then Dr. Fire Rosalina, and then Dr. Larry at the top of the F tier.
Which feels a little weird because he is crazy.
He is crazy. Should we put him down a couple pegs? Should he be just above Dr. Kamek?
I guess, okay, so the problem is that I think he's more interesting than any of the other, than like Dr. Fire Rosalina or Dr. Fire Peach.
Interesting. It's tough because if we're talking about interesting, Dr. Kamek is interesting. However, we should not reward his deceitful nature.
So does because Dr. Kamek is the only one on this list that we've like specifically called out as subscribing to bad science and bad medicine. So does that automatically make Dr. Kamek the lowest in this ranking?
Possibly. All right, that's it. Dr. Kamek, you are getting the dubious honor of being the worst doctor in Dr. Mario World. Worse even than just a Koopa Troopa with a bag with a pill on it. And then Dr. Larry is the top of the F tier.
Because he's crazy, but he believes in science.
Which, look, I can't believe that has to be in short supply among doctors, but here we are. All right, so in the D tier, we have the following doctors. Dr. Dry Bowser, Dr. Baby Rosalina, Dr. Luma, Dr. Baby Peach, Dr. Baby Luigi, Dr. Baby Mario, Dr. Wario, Dr. Waluigi, and Dr. Bowser Jr., and, sorry, one more, Dr. Toad. It's a thick category. There's a deep bench of D tier doctors.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with Dr. Luma.
Mm-hmm. At the bottom.
At the bottom, yeah.
I think that is a reasonable pull. No one could argue that he belongs to be elsewhere.
And
what happens next? Sorry, I'm having a tough time moving this around. There we go. Okay.
So to me, the babies are all kind of like of a group.
Sure. So we just kind of want to like shunt them all down to the bottom because I think Dr. Dry Bowser is more interesting than the rest of the babies.
Yeah, I think so too. And look, like, yes, it is true that if you or I were sick, we would not want to see Dr. Dry Bowser. But if we had to bring Dry Bones to the hospital, we would be so grateful that Dr. Dry Bowser was there.
And Dry Bones would be happy to see someone like himself represented in the doctors that he's seeing. That makes sense to me.
Yes.
So do we have thoughts about how the babies, Dr. Baby Mario, Dr. Baby Luigi, Dr. Baby Peach, and Dr. Baby Rosalina, should be ranked among themselves? I think Dr. Baby Mario is maybe the funniest, and then the rest of them are all sort of a wash.
Oh, if you can pinpoint it, like what makes Dr. Mario the funniest to you?
Dr. Baby Mario, please. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's just knowing Mario's boundless positivity, um, that just makes it a little bit funnier. Thinking that he's going to be running around enthusiastically trying to solve problems, but can't because he's a baby.
Okay, yeah, I feel good about that.
And then the rest, it doesn't really matter. Right now, we currently have the worst of them being Dr. Baby Rosalina, then Dr. Baby Peach, then Dr. Baby Luigi,
Yeah, I mean, and then
and then
to
Dr. Baby Mario.
yeah, because like to me, I just think of like them almost as like one big group. So it doesn't like that order to me is totally fine.
Okay, great. And then so Dr. Dry Bowser, we agree, is better than the babies. That means that above that, we still have yet to sort Dr. Toad, Dr. Bowser Jr., Dr. Waluigi, and Dr. Wario.
Who would you rather see coming in the door, Dr. Wario or Dr. Waluigi?
Ooh, I think Dr. Wario, because Waluigi is also known to be inappropriately amorous on occasion, and I don't want that anywhere near me in a doctor's office.
Canonically, Wario, not Dr. Wario, rides a motorcycle. Do we know Waluigi's preferred form of conveyance?
I would assume it's a like big gaudy car, right? Like a like a big purple convertible.
Also, like Waluigi just has this um sense of just kind of being like a clinger on. Like he just is a follower.
Mm,
He doesn't blaze his
sure.
own path in a way that Wario does. So you have to respect Wario for that. So I agree with you that Dr. Wario should be above Dr. Waluigi.
I think can we put Dr. Toad at the bottom of the group that we're discussing right now? Like just above Dr. Dry Bowser? I just don't care about him. I just don't want a doctor. I just look like, would it be all right if he's my doctor? I'd be like, yeah, I'm probably gonna die from whatever this is, but like he'll be pleasant.
I think so. I think he's like the type of doctor you want to see um for stuff that's like not life threatening. Like I trust him to read a chart. Trust him for like
Sure.
to like put a cast on my arm and stuff. But he doesn't seem like he'd be calm under pressure. Like I don't know that he'd make a very good like ER doctor. So
No, terrible.
whereas I do think that like Dr. Dry Bowser, Dr. Waluigi, and Dr. Wario, like they would manage under pressure. So yeah, I'm okay with that.
So we're even talking putting Dr. Toad below Dr. Dry Bowser.
I think so. I think I'd trust Dr. Dry Bowser more.
It's hard to argue with who you trust. Okay, so I think the D tier as we have them right now, I think this is how it's going to go. That at the bottom of the D tier is Dr. Luma, then Dr. Baby Rosalina, Dr. Baby Peach, Dr. Baby Luigi, Dr. Baby Mario, Dr. Toad, Dr. Dry Bowser, Dr. Waluigi, Dr. Wario, Dr. Baby Bowser Jr., and that's it. That's the top of the D tier.
And Bowser
That sound good
Jr.
to you?
Yeah, because Bowser Jr. like Dr. Bowser Jr. gets a pass almost entirely based on his outfit alone. It is a
Yeah,
really sharp looking outfit.
it's a good outfit. Which brings us to the C tier. We did not award many characters the C tier. Dr. Toadette, Dr. Baby Daisy, and Dr. Diddy Kong. That's it. We just have to order those three. And
I
honestly, I might want to put Dr. Diddy Kong below some of these like doctors that we have in the D tier. Like I think he's probably a better doctor than Dr. Bowser Jr. and I may even want Dr. Wario or even Dr. Waluigi representing me and keeping me safe and healthy more than Dr. Diddy Kong.
Wow. I don't feel that like strongly about Dr. Diddy Kong. Um for some reason, and maybe it's just his association with Dr. Donkey Kong, who I would trust with my life in any
Yes.
situation, that he's getting like the halo effect from that. Uh,
Interesting.
but I do think you're right that again, like, look, like Dr. Wario might be underhanded and like other people might get hurt, but he would like push people out of hospital beds to make room for
That's right.
me if I was his patient. And Diddy Kong, Dr. Diddy Kong,
He's
I
a
just don't think
pushover.
would do that. He is, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna put Dr. Diddy Kong between Dr. Wario and Dr. Waluigi.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Okay, so then who do you like more, Dr. Toadette or Dr. Baby Daisy?
I like Toadette. I think she's inherently more likable. Um, I am sorry to say, I just would not trust a baby as my medical doctor.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind because we've got another amazing baby on the ticket up here a little bit further. All right, now we are into the B category, which I think is going to be crowded. It's okay. Let's talk about it. Dr. Ludwig, Dr. Dolphin, Dr. Nabbit, Dr. Roy, Dr. Wendy, Dr. Luigi, Dr. Bowser, and Dr. Mario. So we had sort of put Dr. Ludwig in the B/A category. Should we move him to the top of the B category now?
I think that's a good starting point for sure.
Okay. Who among these B level doctors are you least? Who do you like least?
So I like like I'm wondering why Dr. Bowser is so high up here.
I think because it was very early in the process and we were not yet exploring the scale.
Because
we can move him down.
Yeah, I don't think that that's an earned B. Like, look, I think Dr. like Dry Bones Bowser has a specialty that he excels at. Dr. Bowser, I know that there are situations where we have seen Bowser be like a really like caring and loving parent, but I think for the most part, I just don't have a lot of faith in a Dr. Bowser. Like, I think he's writing a lot of prescriptions. I think he's like getting you in and out as fast as possible. He's just like, oh, antibiotics. Like, he's just doing like the easiest diagnosis because he's just trying to churn patients through.
Okay, well, that is interesting. So I have temporarily moved him to below Dr. Dry Bowser. We would sooner be treated by the skeleton version of the evil turtle monster than the evil turtle monster himself. That puts him above Toad and the babies, but very little else. Is that where you think he belongs?
I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm wondering how you feel. I'm okay with it because sometimes you just need a doctor where you're like, look, I know it's like a throat infection. I just need antibiotics. Just like give them to me and give it like, let's just like get through this process. Right. So there is utility in this, but.
And I think there's utility in a Dr. Toad as well, but he's not. Look, the idea of Toad being a doctor is not like a fun romantic idea either. It's not funny. The same thing with Dr. Bowser. I think it's fine to have them grouped together like that.
I'm assuming that like maybe we're thinking about Dr. Toad all wrong in that we're thinking like how Dr. Toad would be helping us, but really like is Dr. Toad, is he helping other Toads? Like, does he have the same bump that like Dr. Dry Bowser does? Because it's like, yeah, maybe a Toad would be intimidated to be seen by Dr. Bowser, but a Dr. Toad would make them feel very comfortable.
It's an interesting thing to consider, especially because the Toads are like part fungus or something. They're part mushroom. Like what? That is a whole different category of life. That everyone else on this list is an animal. The toads are not. They are fungus. It's yeah. I guess if you're gonna be practicing in the Mushroom Kingdom, you should have some familiarity with toad anatomy.
But also, like Dr. Toadette is on this list and is way above
Yes.
Dr. Toad, which I think is
Yeah.
appropriate because, again, out of the two, I trust Dr. Toadette much more than I trust Dr. Toad.
Yeah, I agree. Let's leave Dr. Toad where he is, because also, if I'm being honest, I don't really care that much about the well-being of the toads.
So Dr. Nabbit, I think, is a low B for me. Actually, I might put Dr. Nabbit below Toadette.
Interesting. Dr. Nabbit's very funny to say.
Dr. Nabbit is funny. I can imagine it over like the hospital PA system.
Dr. Nabbit to radiology. Dr. Nabbit to radiology.
That's a good point. That's a strong, compelling point.
But we can put him below Dr. Toadette. That's fine with me. I don't really trust Dr. Wendy, and I'm not sure why. I don't think it is inherent institutional sexism, but I want to explore it. Am I being a bad person in wanting to dismiss Dr. Wendy out of hand?
Here is where I think that Dr. Wendy is at a disadvantage compared to all of the other characters on the list. And
Yes.
that is that she is purposefully articulated in her screenshot to look mean, where none, I don't think, of any of the other doctors give off that impression. Like, Roy is a
Yes.
bad person, equally as bad as Wendy. Ludwig is equally as bad as Wendy, but they are rendered in a much more like funny way than Dr. Wendy, which in and of itself might be inherently sexist.
This is tough. I don't know if we can do this, Mark. I do think that her design does express a little bit, does go against a little bit of the do no harm adage. I feel like she should be at the bottom of the B category below Dr. Dolphin.
Okay.
All right. So Dr. Dolphin, very funny. Dr. Roy. So here's what the top of the B list looks right now. Dr. Ludwig at the top of B, then Dr. Mario, then Dr. Luigi, then Dr. Roy, then Dr. Dolphin. I'm sort of happy with that. I don't know how you're feeling.
I'm just a sucker for Roy. That's my problem. That's my baggage that I bring to this list.
Sure. I'm happy to put Dr. Roy between Doctors Mario and Luigi, if for no other reason than I like separating the characters that feel like they should naturally be lumped together.
Great. Everybody gets a little bit of something out of moving Dr. Roy up just one slot.
Now, I want to look. We've done a number of these lists where somebody starts quietly making the argument for one character to be moved up from their current position, and then they just creep up the whole episode. I am saying right here and now, this is Dr. Roy's ceiling. He's not going any higher than 9th place. Okay. Or I guess 11th place is where he resides. Next, we are going to discuss the A tier characters. We have, I believe, 8 characters here. They are as follows: Dr. Peach, Dr. Yoshi, Dr. Daisy, Dr. Rosalina, Dr. Donkey Kong, Dr. Lakitu, Dr. Goomba Tower, and Dr. Baby Wario. Mark, who of these amazing doctors do you see as the weakest amazing doctor?
So I think it's probably Dr. Yoshi.
I agree with that 100%.
And then
do you care to articulate why?
So I think Dr. Yoshi suffers a little bit from the same thing that like Toad suffers from, where I just don't get it. Like it's not particularly funny. It's not fun. They didn't give him a fun outfit.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's also like it you can tell that it is one of the like trying to be funny ones, one of the like what how could that be a doctor? But it's obviously an early choice, right? It was from the very first time they were like, let's take a swing and put it in a really weird doctor, and it's Dr. Yoshi. He feels like a first draft joke.
right, and I guess like to me, it's not even that he's particularly weird. It's just like he's so perfunctory, and
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, yeah, Dr. Yoshi's gonna be in it. What would Dr. Yoshi look like? I don't know. Let's just give him a satchel. Like there's no attempt to
Yes.
make it like anything more than just kind of like, well, you got to have Yoshi in here. He's early in this whole thing, so yeah, let's just like get Yoshi in here. So yeah, I agree. In fact, honestly, after we're saying that, like, I does he deserve to be an A tier character at all?
Mm,
Like, why are we putting
boy,
Dr.
that
Yoshi
yeah.
above Dr. Mario?
Boy, these are tough questions. Um So I am happy to knock Yoshi out of the A tier and down below Dr. Mario. But if we move him further down the list than that, that does inherently move Dr. Roy up. And I've already expressed that Dr. Roy's ceiling is 11th place.
It's an arbitrary, capricious rule that has no basis in fact. I hold that Dr. Roy is a better doctor than Dr. Yoshi.
Wow. Is Dr. Luigi a better doctor? I think he is.
What about Dr. Dolphin?
I feel like that's the right company. I don't know if Dr. Dolphin is better or worse.
I kind of like Toadette more than I like Dr. Yoshi.
Wow. Okay. Here, I'm dropping Dr. Yoshi below Dr. Luigi and above Dr. Dolphin, and I think we're gonna have to elevate now Dr. Toadette to above Dr. Yoshi. I'm gonna put her there temporarily. Above Dr. Yoshi. Is Dr. Toadette better than Dr. Luigi? Maybe that's where she sits. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the thing with Dr. Luigi is that like just like Dr. Mario, like they're competent. Like they're just so like good at what they do.
Right.
There's nothing magical about them, but like you're gonna recommend them to your friends. And so I think Toadette is good where she is because I think she's in the same company. Like I feel
Sure.
that way about Toadette as well.
Okay, well, a tough fall from grace for Dr. Yoshi. I'm very upset that Dr. Roy is now in 10th place. Who else among these current A tier doctors do you feel like should be towards the bottom of this list?
Dr. Peach, for whatever reason, I like the lab coat, but like compared to the other doctors that are still remaining on the list, I'm
Yeah.
like I would advocate for
Yeah,
them before Dr. Peach.
She is the lesser of giants, I think. Okay. Next, so I think here's where I think things start to really hurt. I think Dr. Goomba Tower is next. One of the funniest concepts in Doctors, but is also three Goombas stacked on top of each other. Is going to be a miserable experience. You're going to try to describe it to your friends, and no one will even they won't even listen to you.
Okay, the only thing I would say is that I think Dr. Goomba Tower delights me more than Dr. Rosalina does.
Interesting. Gosh, that is a good point. Okay. All right. Let's put Dr. Rosalina above Dr. Peach.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dr. Goomba Tower above Dr. Rosalina.
Uh-huh.
Which means then we have still to sort our top 4 doctors, and in the running are currently Dr. Baby Wario, Dr. Lakitu, Dr. Donkey Kong, and Dr. Daisy.
So I think I really like our top, like this is a great top 4 because we have 3 really great doctors, like truly good doctors.
Yes.
And then we have Dr. Baby Wario.
Who, again, is the funniest goof doctor they've done in this. And Dr. Goomba Tower is an inspired decision, but Dr. Baby Wario, that's just magic, baby. I don't know how. I don't know how anyone accomplishes that. I don't know how anyone goes into work the next day after accomplishing that. You've peaked.
Well, here's the insidious thing about Dr. Baby Wario is it plants in your head this idea that actually, what if Dr. Baby Wario is really good at his job? Because he has all the failings of Wario. He is a baby, but he has somehow managed to become a doctor and hold this enormous pill magnet. That's like accomplishment after accomplishment after accomplishment. And so like maybe he's actually really good at this.
I mean, I think that's right. The cognitive dissonance required for you to hold these 3 concepts in your head at one time, doctor, baby, Wario, is so great as to render reality irrelevant. I think just being in Dr. Baby Wario's presence will make you better, will keep whatever ills of the world at bay because they don't know how to attack you anymore in a world where the rules no longer matter. He's a good doctor is what I'm saying.
He's a good doctor. I think the one thing for me that would, and maybe it'd be gilding the lily, but I think that Dr. Baby Wario should have like the beginnings of a mustache.
He's a baby. He's not Dr. Teen Wario.
No, but he came out of the womb with
I see what you're saying.
With the like beginnings of a W mustache. That to me, and maybe when I saw it, I would reject it and I would not like it. But in my head, that is a what I want to see.
Sure. As he stands at present as a reality-bending nymph, where do you put Dr. Baby Wario? Does he deserve to? Because I do think that Dr. Daisy, Dr. Donkey Kong, and Dr. Lakitu are better doctors.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say that, like I would genuinely trust Dr. Lakitu with my life, but I am going to put him below Dr. Baby Wario in my listing because he is hurt by the lack of accessories, the lack of a lab coat, the lack of, anything other than just kind of like the satchel that we've seen other characters carry.
Wouldn't it be great if he had printed on the front of his cloud in reverse, like an ambulance?
Yes.
But he does not. So, okay, Dr. Lakitu's going in at number 4. I think the ceiling for Dr. Baby Wario is 3rd place, a super high ceiling. And again, I've set ceilings in the past, and they have been broken in the past, so who knows? Dr. Daisy and Dr. Donkey Kong, who do you think is the best doctor at, Mushroom Kingdom General?
So I actually like the order we have now. For me, it's Dr. Daisy. And I think it's just like both Dr. Daisy and Dr. Donkey Kong are doctors you want on your team. But there's just something about Dr. Daisy that it's like she is a true like go-getter. She's super positive. She works really hard. She's one of those people that I desperately wish I could be, that they're like, yeah, I get 3 hours of sleep a night and that's all I need because I'm up at 4 to go to the gym and run for an hour and a half so I can start my day at 6. And, like she works 12 hours, goes home and does it all over again. Like, I think Dr. Donkey Kong is a really good doctor, but he's like older. He's been in the game a long time.
Totally.
It's like, you're going to go see him and it's an hour-long appointment and you guys are just going to talk for 45 minutes about sports. And then for the last 15 minutes, he's going to be like, yeah, okay, like, what'd you come in here for? Great, good to see you. But like Dr. Daisy is like, I am like going to be the best doctor for you possible.
Also, Dr. Donkey Kong, there are going to be probably a period of 5 to 6 weeks every year where you can't make an appointment with him because he's just gone back to the jungle, and like it's a he has to do it every year, and you know, like the rest of his staff has to cover for him. Sometimes you're gonna get Dr. Diddy Kong, and like we know that's not great, but just don't schedule your appointments around that time and you'll be fine. Okay, Mark, we have our list, our definitive ranking of 36 doctors from Dr. Mario World. Should we read back the whole list or maybe just the top 10? What do you think is appropriate here?
Let's speed through it, starting from the bottom, shall we?
Sure. Starting from the bottom going up, when I get to number 10, I will start calling out the numbers. But at number 36, Dr. Kamek, Dr. Koopa Troopa, Dr. Fire Mario, Dr. Fire Luigi, Dr. Fire Peach, Dr. Fire Rosalina. At number 30, Dr. Larry, Dr. Luma, Dr. Baby Rosalina, Dr. Baby Peach, Dr. Baby Luigi, Dr. Baby Mario, Dr. Toad, Dr. Bowser, Dr. Dry Bowser, Dr. Waluigi. Coming in at number 20, Dr. Diddy Kong, Dr. Wario, Dr. Bowser Jr., Dr. Baby Daisy, Dr. Nabbit. Coming in at number 15 is Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dolphin, Dr. Yoshi, Dr. Toadette, Dr. Luigi. Then at number 10, breaking his ceiling, is Dr. Roy.
Roy!
Number 9, the original Dr. Mario. Number 8, Dr. Ludwig, because he is obviously a student of some kind. Number 7, Dr. Peach. We love that lab coat. Number 6, Dr. Rosalina, probably a pediatrician. Number 5, Dr. Goomba Tower. No one believes it, but it's there. Number 4 is Dr. Lakitu, some sort of field medic that we all respect greatly. Number 3, the reality bending Dr. Baby Wario. Number 2, the Dr. Donkey Kong, who's going to fight for you. And at number 1 is the perfect doctor, Dr. Daisy. Mark, we did it. Let's close this out. And as we discussed, of course, this will be a living list. If there are doctors introduced in the future, we will add them as we go. And if anyone wants to weigh in on the list as it is, again, it is living, so we can change it in the future if we have a change of heart or if someone makes a compelling case. The following cases will not be heard: that Roy should be any higher, or that Dr. Baby Wario should be any lower. All right, that's going to do it for... so you should email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And let us know what you think of that. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you should share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. It helps us out a bunch. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.
Hey, Rachel, Oscar.
Yeah, Claire?
Do you love Disney movies?
Uh-huh.
Have you seen them all?
Not all of them.
What do you guys think if we watch them all in chronological order and then talk about them?
Ooh. Oh, and what if we can talk about it with some of our favorite friends?
I love that.
Yeah, and what if we do it inside the Disney Vault?
You know, that's the name of our podcast, Inside the Disney Vault on Campfire Media.
Yeah, check us out on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to yours.
That's Inside the Disney Vault.
Let's go!
Woo!
Campfire.